Hello everyone, welcome to Terra Angel Intuitive. This is Jess. I am a psychic medium, a healer, and an empath, and I use my intuition and messages from spirit to be able to pass them along for you to use on your journey towards healing and self-awareness on your spiritual path. So thank you for being here today. This is a general message, so it is also a timeless message. That means that whenever you see it, there's something within what I'm speaking about that may be beneficial or enlightening for the point that you are on in your journey. I've already cleansed my space. I've already meditated. I've also kind of pre-shuffled some cards to save some time with the video here. But I think Spirit is already having me receive some messages and channeling. I'm going to say this now, but if there's anything in here that you like or that you resonate with, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we would love to have you as part of this community here. I'm getting really tongue-tied, and I have a very anxious feeling with what's going on right now. So I think that's worth definitely notating for whoever I'm speaking with. I have not seen most of these cards, so these are going to be a surprise for me. I do my readings a little bit different. Any of the tarot cards, I don't necessarily use the textbook definition for it. I pick a lot of the energy up off of the cards and use a lot of the imaging for the cards. So if you're looking to watch and learn traditional tarot meanings and styles and spreads and everything, this is not the reading for you. I do things a little bit differently. That's just how me and Spirit work. We kind of go with the flow here, and everything is a little bit different. And that's just what I personally enjoy and where I find the most messages that I need. Okay, so let's get started. I'm being called to, we're going to start here with a pack. And this particular one, I'm going to go ahead and read it from the guidebook. It says inner work, deep connections, and soul tribe. The number is 38. So that number may have special meaning for you. If you hear snoring in the background, that is my dog. She is the loudest snorer I think that I've ever heard from an animal. So just please keep that in mind and let it not distract you from the reading that's going on. Kind of funny how I'm talking about my dog in the background, and there is actually a wolf that is in this picture here as well. Actually, 3 wolves. Yep. All right. Have you found those people who hold space for you? Those people who allow you as much time as you need to talk if you need it, or to be unabashedly yourself and act as you wish. These individuals do exist, and they can be found. Seeking the help that you require is entirely your choice. There are forms of healing found in counseling and talking circles. Some people are fortunate enough to receive support from friends and family, as well as from pets, animals, and plants. It's essential to be able to talk and express your truth to those who are simply listening and accepting you into your hearts. Your story may not be for everyone to hear, but you can find the support that will aid you, so you may align with your highest self. You can communicate with Mother Earth and, if you like, unload your burdens on her. She is compassionate, nurturing, and helpful in transferring whatever energy you don't want to bear. Examine what you want to leave behind, like a snake losing its skin or a butterfly emerging from its cocoon, and let the earth transform it. Allow yourself to gather and release this energy by sitting in prayer, meditation, and nature. It's vital to remember that before you can be of service to others or assist them, you must first heal yourself. And everyone's road is different. This commonality in healing work is formed through making space for others to tell their truth. You might be receiving a call to be a healer if you've noticed this need in someone else. The act of healing begins with the skill of being able to listen. Practice listening without pretenses, preconceived notions, or judgment. Practice being open to fully listening with all of your senses. Allow someone as much time as they require and provide a safe space for them to express themselves. I'm going to get the energy from the other cards because I think it's going to give me more information about the direction that this one is saying. Okay. All right, so we have the ship and we have the tower, and it's going to go this way. Okay. So basically this is a chance, and this is letting me know that you are on your healing journey. You've kind of had your tower moment. You've been looking at some of these ghosts of the past. You have been coming to terms with some of the experiences that you've had in the past, but you've also found that you may be in a place where the people that you're talking to right now may not be able to help you in the same capacity. They're not able to give you a skill set that's going to help you learn and grow or give you a new perspective on what's happening with you. Now, in this particular image of the Tower card, it is on a solid rock, actually, the foundation here. And the structure itself, though it's tall, it is still pretty solid. However, there is nothing around it. There's no growth around it. But there's also nobody there to help. There's nothing living there. So it's almost as if the person that's way at the top, right? That person is very, very isolated in either finding issues with the foundation or rebuilding the foundation. And that could have been where you've been in your journey, where you've had to really isolate yourself and go internally, right? And almost as if you've internally been doing work on some of your chakra systems and kind of finding where there's balance or imbalance and what's happening. However, there's the isolation that's going on. And with this ghost here, I'm picking up the energy that people have fallen out of your lives that used to be important to you. They just don't understand. They don't get it. They don't see your perspective because you have a much different perspective than you did before. You could have raised your vibrational levels. You could be seeing this from the view of your highest self, that perspective of what's going to be good for you and what's not. This particular person is not grounded, right? So that's definitely something you could be trying to remove yourself from situations that totally unground you. And by doing that, you had to kind of build your own foundation. And however solid it is, especially with the depiction in this picture, it's isolating and there's nobody there with you. So with this, the second card that came up, this is the ships, okay? So the water typically is a representation of emotions. And though right now your water is pretty calm, it's if you look at it this way, it's very smooth sailing in what's going on. Not a care in the world. Like I said, I'm picking up the energy that you finally can breathe at this point. But again, you're in the middle of the ocean with nothing there. However, there is still some shadow work. There is still stuff under, and these tentacles can get snagged up at any point. And if they get snagged up, they're kind of going to jerk you back into a position. It's going to knock you off kilter. So you really are wanting to move forward, but you also don't want to lose the stability. You don't want to lose that balance that you've been working for up until this point. Because whoever is watching this video is not brand new to their spiritual journey. This has kind of been something that they have been working on. But there are still some underlying issues, and you know it. You just are not ready to quite address them yet. And so by seeing this card, it is important for you to reach out, to gain some kind of counsel, to be able to either hold space for somebody else, or you learn to let somebody hold space for you. And that's kind of more the energy that I'm getting, is that you don't let people in very often. If you have before, it hasn't necessarily had the best results for you. There's been some hardships. You have really not gotten the nourishment, because if you look at this, it's a skeleton there. You've not gotten the nourishment that you needed. And I'm picking up, with this particular energy, I'm picking up a very feminine energy. So maybe you've had a mother figure in your life that didn't give you the love and the nourishment. Maybe there are some issues that you're not quite ready to tackle yet, because if we look here, if we look here, that is a feminine energy right there, the ghost of the past. Maybe you know that this mother energy, there is some deep healing that needs to happen from that, that's kind of holding you back, but you want to stay in this place of balance just a little bit longer. And so I encourage you, even reaching out to a therapist. That was my former profession. I worked many years in the mental health career in that particular field. I absolutely loved it, but there are some dark childhood wounds and moments and hurts and things that really can affect you as adults if they haven't been properly dealt with, even talked about. And therapists can give you even a new skill set that you never learned. So just because you go doesn't mean that there's something mentally wrong with you, that there's a diagnosis. Even just going to get a new skill set is something that people need to do way more often than they do right now. So let's see the two cards that came up with this one. Okay, anticipate and misaligned. Yeah, it's going back to that energy where you know that there's something just not quite in alignment yet, right? And you're anticipating having to deal with those or confront those, or when that moment comes up, because you know it's going to happen. You know those tentacles are going to get snagged on something, but at what point? So there is this very anticipatory energy. When that moment happens, are you going to know what to say? Are you going to know how to react? Which is, at the beginning of the reading, I was getting very tongue-tied with some of the energy that was coming through, kind of very anxious energy, almost as if when you know that when you're little and you get in trouble with your parent, you know they're going to yell at you for something, you know you're going to get in trouble for something, you're just waiting for that moment. It's almost very similar to that type of feeling. So yeah, definitely picking up on inner childhood wounds, probably mother wounds. Doesn't mean that you are abused or mistreated in any way. It doesn't mean that the parent didn't love you. Sometimes they're just not able to fully meet your emotional needs. Does not make them a bad parent. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. All right, the next card that we have. Okay. All right, this one is Distorted Desire. Okay, I'm going to pull the guidebook to be able to read this one. Down at the bottom, this is number 15. It says, conscious desire rarely satisfies the unconscious need driving it. So let's get a little more detail with that one. Okay. Knowing the difference between needs and wants is key to navigating what is at the root of a desire. It helps us to distinguish what is a self-sabotaging compulsion or mirage from what is genuinely life-enhancing aspiration to be realistically pursued. When what we think we want is not what we need or long for at a core level, the realization of such desires potentially results in something nightmarish rather than dream fulfillment. In worst case scenarios, this can have us running for our lives like the featured mother. Whether or not we consciously recognize a delusion for what it is, an untruth can never satisfy our needs. Illusions have no sustenance or substance, and therefore cannot satiate the burning desire that mistakenly drives us to attain them in the first place. Nonetheless, at the origin of every distorted desire is an invaluable lesson for us to learn about ourselves. Gently unpack the reasons why you are turning away from, rather than confronting the things that are not actually as they seem in your life. It may be necessary to compassionately release yourself from an unwarranted conviction that things or a person will magically change into what they have the potential to become, and cease making excuses for why they have not. So Mother's message: once we get clear on what our heart's core desire is, and therefore need, we are ready to recognize it in whatever form it takes and to receive it. Make the space for your heart's true longing to come in by freeing yourself of any illusions still haunting you. Yeah. Okay, so a lot of times, if there were any emotional needs that were not met in childhood, there is something called developmental psychology. And just like in physical development of the body, where first a baby has to learn to roll over, and then the crawling, and then the walking, and there's a whole series of developmental physical milestones that a child must meet as they are growing to get to the next stage. There is also something within our minds, our emotional development, our psychosocial development, the psychological development. There are milestones that need to be met for us to be able to go to the next developmental stage for those emotional needs. A lot of times in childhood, when some of those needs are not met, when a parent is not able to appropriately emotionally attach, or they kind of are not able to be there providing some of that because they have to take care of providing in a more physical way, then there are some areas that have been neglected for those emotional needs that a child has to have in order to get to the next stage of development. So it's important to recognize that in many of the adult relationships that we have a tendency to recreate some of those patterns to try to satisfy and meet those emotional needs that were never met. Problem is, it doesn't usually work, right? We always end up dating the same person even though they have a different name. You always tend to have a pattern in the types of relationship dynamics that you typically have, and they replicate. If some of these emotional needs were not met as a child, they replicate that dynamic that you had with that particular parent. I am picking up feminine energy, right? And if you look in the background of this, there is one light and a little path right here. Okay. And it's almost as if, I know it said that she was running away from something, maybe something that once was safe, or she was almost like a moth to a flame, right? We are attracted to what was familiar. We are attracted to, she saw the path, she saw the light, she thought, oh, clearly this is the direction I need to go. There is the guiding light to get to it, right? Same pattern. We recognize the pattern, we find comfort in the pattern, and when she gets there, she realizes, oh, that's not good for me. That's not what I thought it was going to do. That's not how I thought it was going to end. I thought this was going to be, the person that's going to step in and really change things, and it was going to be different this time, but really it didn't, right? So it's important to recognize that this dynamic is not going to change. It's interesting. I never noticed this before. And if, let's see if you can see it, but way up here is a house. Okay? And this house has no lights on. It's absolutely dark. However, that house is structurally, it looks very solid. And it looks to be more promising than this path in the woods with one little light that was on it. And so by going towards something comfortable, this light on this little path into the woods being lured in there, she failed to see that there is something already established. This can be her home. This can be her safe haven. But she was so caught up into being lured in by something that has never worked out for her before. So it's important to recognize, especially if you find yourself that you're in relationship patterns that have been the same, right? You have to sit and reflect and take time. And this is where a therapist is great, because they can be a sounding board to help you recognize some of these patterns. We're all human. We all have patterns. It's just, that's just how it goes. And so by sitting and reflecting and recognizing and having a different perspective, right? Seeing it from a higher angle, rising above it, and viewing it from a different perspective, you're able to sit back and recognize, oh, well, I keep going towards this type of dynamic. Why am I going to that? Well, what are you trying to get? Looking into the attachment styles is also some really great direction for you to identify patterns that might be in your relationship. Okay, so let's go to our other cards. Okay, so we have butterfly. And it's funny how in the other one it talked about butterflies kind of having to go through that metamorphosis process. Pay attention to the areas in your life or personality that are in need of profound change or transformation. You're about to enter a phase of expansion and growth, which will be highly beneficial for your future. For the person watching this, and if you're still here, thank you for continuing to watch it. Hit that like button and subscribe button. This issue, this childhood wound issue, because we have a lot of feminine energy, I'm thinking mother wound. It doesn't have to be. And remember, we all have masculine and feminine energy. So there may just be a imbalance even within yourself, within your own energies as well. Okay, so we have Bobcat mystery. The Bobcat teaches you that there is true power and strength in silence and patience. In order to get what you want, you must be willing to plan, adapt, and above all, have the patience to see your dreams manifest. Healing and doing a lot of this inner work requires a lot of patience because it does not happen overnight. The healing process, while it may feel like you are just going in circles, it's actually a spiral approach. And when you shift the perspective, because if you look down on it, you just think you're going right in a circle. But if you change the perspective, it's actually a spiral approach. So you're going to feel like you keep readdressing the same issues. And yes, you are. However, you're addressing it from a different place in your healing journey. And that is what is allowing you to kind of process and work through and get used to it. The healing process is uncomfortable. It can be miserable. It hurts. Nobody likes it, right? But it is so important to be able to walk through that. You have to walk through the fire. You have to go through it. That's how you get calluses on your feet, to be able to withstand the journey ahead of you. And it's important to recognize that even though it's uncomfortable to think about in this moment, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. Pain is temporary. There's always going to be change. It's never going to sit with it. And a lot of people avoid the process because they think they're going to have to sit with it forever. When in all actuality, by not processing it, by avoiding the big emotions that you know are going to come, you're prolonging it and you're sitting in it and you're staying there. And it's this miserable, misaligned, anticipatory state, waiting for that bad moment, waiting to feel the really, really bad feelings. But you're never going to grow from that. You're just going to stay stuck in this very stagnant, isolated energy, afraid to confront, afraid to come down and confront your ghosts. Nothing is going to change in your life until you make the changes. And it takes just one step. One step. And then another. And then another. And then another. It's just that simple. Okay, let's see our cards with this one. Dreamland. So avoiding reality. Not wanting to see the picture for what it actually is. Living in those land of illusions. Oh, it's going to be different this time. No, it's not until you make it different. And I'm saying this from love and light and encouragement. Because you can do this. But it starts with you recognizing and identifying the areas that need to be changed in order for you to get what you want. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be happy. You deserve abundance. Spirit wants us to live a life of joy and love and abundance. But it won't happen as long as we're holding on to these illusions. And the illusions are usually a result of having a fear mindset. Afraid of confronting the truth. Afraid of seeing somebody in a different way. There's a lot of things that we can be afraid of. And we're taught to live in a fear mindset. The next one says, why not? Why can't it be different? Why does it have to be how it is? It doesn't. What's holding you back? This is a question that you really need to ask yourself. Why are you not making a change? A lot of times we get caught up on the logistics of things, right? If I leave this person, I'm in a relationship, how am I going to provide for my family, right? How am I going to make sure that there's food on the table? How am I going to explain it to my family that this marriage isn't working when they believe in the sanctity of marriage and that it has to last forever? How am I going to explain this? The problem is we get so caught up on the hows that we never ask the why. It's the why that allows you the opportunity to dream and dream bigger. Why am I staying in this relationship? Are you staying in the relationship because you're getting all of your emotional needs and wants met? Why are you working at a job if it's not giving you satisfaction or a sense of fulfillment in what you're doing? Start questioning why you are living the way that you're living, and it might give you a different perspective on what's going on. Why are you not making the changes to live that life that you deserve? A life of love and happiness and joy. Changing your perspective, asking different questions, and that might help give you guidance, at least to take a step in a different direction. Do you want to be in that house with, that's got a stable foundation? You just need to light it up? Or are we going to go towards this direction? Why are you choosing the path you're choosing? Last card. Actions speak louder than words. Right? Somebody can tell you that they love you and you mean everything to them. But if they're choosing to spend more time with their friends or spend more money on some of their hobbies, or, the list can go on and on and on and on. Are they just breadcrumbing you? Right? Their actions speak a lot louder than words. But that goes for you too. You can say you want change, but if you're not making any actions to make changes within your life, do you really? What is holding you back? Why are you not making the changes? Again, questions you need to sit down and really reflect with yourself. Nobody can answer those but you. And there's no right or wrong answer. That's the beauty of it. All right, let's move on. So then we have the Hanged Man. And so this is really changing your perspective and how you're approached and taking the time that you need to. And if you look at it, it's almost as if this figure is in a cocoon, and there's a butterfly right here too, right? Speaking of the metamorphosis that can be occurring and that change in perspective. And the fact that there is all this yellow light that is down here, it's kind of in the crown chakra is what I'm getting, but it's upside down. So it's almost as if you're not rooted, you're not grounded. Maybe the imbalance starts at the very bottom, your foundations, right? You're thinking more with your head than being fully grounded with your energy and firm in who you are. But taking time to really sit and have some introspection. And maybe even having, reaching out for support to cut you down. Not to do your work for you, but just to aid you a little bit. Cut you down, write you up, give you new skills, give you some clothes, give you some kind of protection, which would be a new skill set that a therapist could help give you in some of this. And even, the fact that you've uncovered yourself and you're sitting in your emotions. That's the only way you're going to heal from them. You have to sit with them. Name them. Put a name to your emotions. I'm feeling sad right now. I'm feeling angry right now. Even if you just start by naming your emotions, that's helping you process them and learning to sit with them. As uncomfortable as you may feel, as vulnerable as you may feel, sitting in that feeling, it's extremely important in that change, in that healing process, and the metamorphosis of what's going on. Growth hurts. Do you ever remember when you were little, I have an 8-year-old, and there are often times when he's going through this growth spurt that he complains all the time because his bones hurt. He's growing, physically growing, and it is a painful process. But it doesn't last. You just kind of sit with it in the moment, comfort and love, and allow them to have space, allow somebody to have space for that growth to happen. They don't necessarily even have to do anything, just by giving you that space, which is what we kind of started with here. Okay, so let's come here. All right, yeah, I have Mother and Rock of Ages, so it's still picking up on that feminine energy. Maybe that influential figure in your life that can give you a direction where to look, or learning to heal that feminine energy within yourself. But definitely that feminine energy is where you're going to need to focus on healing, or the next part of your healing. And then I have Rock of Ages. So for me, this is it can be taken a couple different ways. One, just a very solid support foundation. Somebody that was consistently there. Somebody that was unmovable. But in that, it also means that they were inflexible as well, too. Maybe they didn't understand your perspective. Maybe they didn't get why you had certain needs that you wanted to be, you needed met. I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied again. So kind of thinking back on those moments as a child where, and somebody could have had issues stuttering and really clearly speaking what they had to, because when they came against this very solid energy, you couldn't talk back to them. You couldn't express yourself. You couldn't do anything different for whatever reason. There was that fear that you couldn't be yourself. That and my throat chakra is bothering me too right now. So that is showing me that you were not able to speak your truth, or were not able to say what you needed to say to this particular figure within your foundational development. But this also means you building your own foundation for your legacy, for what you do here, because you are in control of this. But by doing that, right, it requires confrontation. And rocks change over time, right? Rocks can get worn down, so they once had jagged edges to them, but you can smooth it out. A lot of ways that this can be interpreted. Okay, so then we have these 3 cards. All right, sadness, right? Feeling the feelings, sitting with it. And usually anger is kind of what shows first. Anger is a safe emotion. Society understands anger, and so that's the safest way to express emotions. But anger is a mask for fear or pain. So you're angry. Why are you angry? Well, I'm angry because I wasn't listened to. Okay, so then when you weren't listened to, how did that make you feel? Well, I felt sad because nobody heard my voice. Going a little bit deeper and uncovering, okay, what is the root of the problem? Victim consciousness. Okay. So for this one, this is kind of being aware of your position in things. Going back to that same example, not being heard as a child, right? You're angry about it, then you realize you're sad because they were not seeing you for who you are. They were denying who you were. So then you live within that. And by living within that hurt place, that victim mindset of being hurt, somebody doing something wrong, this is what happens. You're getting led down the wrong path because you are not making a conscious choice of the direction you're going based on the fact that you are not in a healed state. Almost like when you get drunk, right? You make a decision when you're drunk and it has bad results. What do? You blame it on being drunk because you were not in a clear mindset. If you're making decisions based on an unhealed state, it can be comparable to that. We make stupid decisions when we're hurt. I've done it. I have done it way more times than I can even imagine. But I've learned from it. Because eventually it got to the point where I was tired of having the same pattern happen again. I was tired of following the path that had the light on it that was familiar. I've done this process a few times because that's what healing and growth is. So then we have alchemy. The only way to make that pain go away is to sit with it and to find the silver lining, right? So my parents never heard me when I was little, and I didn't feel like they knew who I was. Okay, well then what is the blessing with that? Right? Then I found great friends that understood and accepted who I was, and they became family. It can be many, many, many different things. That's just the first thing that came to mind. But learning to alchemize the pain, learning to sit with it, identify it, see how it's helped you, and how you can grow from it. This is where you take your power back. Going from this victim consciousness where they have your power because you are reacting to something they did versus, oh, okay, well, this is what they did. However, I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to make it mean something in my life. I'm going to use it for my benefit. I had a problem stuttering when I was little. So you know what? I went to speech therapy. I took acting classes. And now I am able to, be in a life of theater. It can look a lot of different ways. People are going to do things to you, right? It's what you do with it and what you learn with it. That's yours. You are the writer of your own story. So that also means you get to choose the parts that hold importance to you. You choose the parts that have weight. Are you going to give somebody that hurt you a majority of the story? Or are you going to be like, yeah, that happened to me, but you know what? I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and you're taking ownership and control of your own story and your own life. Getting out of this victim mindset. Victim mindset. Sitting with things. Feeling things. Allowing yourself to heal within itself. Alchemizing it, right? That's the only way for your own growth. Okay. So let's go here. Things that might help you along your journey for healing, right? Energy healing, yeah. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. And it could be that either you are called to do energy healing, but that requires you to do your own first. Or having Reiki, or there are a lot of different ways to do energy healing. Even if you are doing it yourself, you've got the use of crystals and gemstones, and I've got my whole collection. It's not all of them, but I have lots that I use, and different ones have different purposes. I will also put a link in the video for the guy that I use that does all of my gives me all my gemstones and things. He's great. He does custom jewelry as well, so I'll make sure that information is in there too for you. So as far as energy healing, let's see what guidance that Spirit has for you. Instead of pushing yourself so hard, stop, breathe, and reevaluate. You are doing enough, even if it doesn't feel like it. Don't wear yourself out to the point of exhaustion. It is not worth it. Balance your time more wisely. There's no time limit to healing. It's ongoing. It's a continuum. And again, even if you just take one step, even if you decide to start seeing a therapist, all you have to do is show up. And I would tell my clients that all the time. Just get here. Don't worry about the rest. If you're having an off day, we're going to sit here and I'm going to help you in a way that is going to be beneficial to you. Even if we sit here and watch funny cat videos, because that is going to help you learn to balance and process and learn coping skills. And so there's a lot of great things that you can do, but you got to show up for yourself, because actions speak louder than words. If you're saying you're going to help yourself, but you never actually do it, then it's not getting done and you're not showing up for yourself. Okay, books. So this one, basically learning about yourself, learning about your history, learning about, again, like I said earlier, your attachment styles and how you are approaching in relationships, and kind of what is your pattern within relationships. Are you picking codependent relationships? Are you in that narcissist empath dynamic? There's a lot of different components out there, but it requires you to do some work and a lot of introspection. Sit down and notice patterns. Write it out. Sometimes just writing things out can help you see things a little more clearly. All right, if you think you're alone, you are not. We are beside you in all challenges that you face. Trust that outside sources will always be working with you to ensure the best outcome of every situation. We have your best interest at heart. We love you. That has been the biggest lesson for me to learn. And once I realized that no matter what, and the biggest support that I ever had, that always had my best interest in mind, was God, was Spirit, was the universe, however you want to name the higher power. Once I really accepted that I was loved as I was, as I am, and as I will be, unconditionally, and accepted that, then I knew I was fine. It was hard through the healing process. But even if you feel let down by other people, especially some of these, influential people in your early childhood life that may have neglected some of those psychosocial developmental needs that you had, I know now that I am always loved and supported by my spirit team. And I can always ask them. And learning to connect in that way has been a game changer for me. That is my personal story that has helped me tremendously. You do what you feel necessary. I'm not preaching, I'm not doing therapy, I'm no longer within the field. These are just things that I've experienced and I recognized, and just kind of putting it with the messages that Spirit is giving to me. Okay, the last one that's going to help with your healing. So this is body work. Massage therapy, physical therapy, exercising. Gosh, exercising is great. Getting out in nature, going for walks, swimming. Swimming is fantastic too. Even just getting into the water sometimes. They've got the salt baths, the Himalayan salt baths, or the little, the float pods and things like that. So there's a lot of holistic ways that you can help alchemize and heal your energy as well. And sometimes you just have to try and see what works for you. I've tried different holistic options. Some work great, some don't. Some work some days and some don't. For me, massage therapy works great. Acupuncture doesn't work for me, but that's okay. And I've tried it multiple times. You got to learn to listen to your own body. Nobody can tell you what works for you and what doesn't. You have to learn that for yourself. And that's part of healing, learning to listen to your body, learning to recognize patterns, learning to feel your feelings and know what those feelings feel like is extremely important for this. Okay, and Spirit says you need to ignore what everyone else is doing and achieving. Your life is about breaking your own limits and outgrowing yourself to live your best life. You are not in competition with anyone else. Plan to outdo your past, not other people. Yeah, just like I was saying, your path is your path. And don't be, you can try things, but don't be afraid to not jump on the bandwagon sometimes. Right? If all your buddies like to go out and drink and party, and it just is not part of your healing, part of your, what you can tolerate energetically. Sometimes when we go through spiritual awakenings or different stages of that, you just can only energetically handle so much. I know on my journey, there are a lot of days that I just have a very difficult time being around crowds or bigger energies, or even in my local area, there's a large growth in houses that are being built and trees being torn down. So I'm affected sometimes by just nature in and of itself, some of those earth components and things. So learning to listen to your own body, learning to implement techniques that help with your healing, that help you, going to more holistic sources to help with that healing as well. There's no right or wrong. There's no specific path. Learning to kind of be in that flow state of learning to listen to your body is huge. You've done some good work, right? And I feel that you recognize that. You're on your journey. There's still other stuff that needs to be unpacked and uncovered. I suggest, before we kind of unpack this inner childhood stuff, that you definitely hone in or add some coping skills, some more coping skills to your toolbox. Seeking guidance from a licensed, trained professional therapist, right? Not your buddies down the road. Somebody that has an objective viewpoint, that has the schooling and the training, so that they can teach you a new skill set, right? And see things from a different perspective. I recommend doing something like that so that you have a plan in place for when we finally confront some of these harder issues, that you feel safe enough to just be able to sit with that process. Whoever this is, I want to thank you for sharing your energy with me. it's a tough place to sit within this healing journey. And Spirit has a tendency to kind of give me messages on some of the harder things, but this is to help give you guidance and, like I said, direction and what you may need to work on next, so you don't get overwhelmed, because there might be a laundry list of things that could be beneficial for you, or you just don't know exactly where to start. So thank you so much if you are still here and listening to me. If it resonated with you, please hit the like button and feel free to send comments. Now, this is a space of light and love and positivity. So let's be mindful. If you don't have anything nice to say, then let's just not say anything at all. I don't want people to come here and feel worse about themselves, especially if they're in the middle of some of this healing work that they have to do. I think that is all that Spirit has, so I want to thank you, and I hope you guys have a great day.